Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and it is October of 2018. Halloween month, ladies and gentlemen. Halloween has been a holiday that I've enjoyed for many, many years, ever since I was a kid, actually. And, I really always liked dressing up. My four favorite Halloween costumes have been as follows. White Ranger, back when he was the big thing. Spider-Man, back when he was perhaps not as big as he is today, but back when I actually liked Spider-Man. Darth Vader, because Darth Vader's awesome. I even had a red lightsaber at the time. Sadly, it has since broken over the past several decades. And last, but certainly not least, James Bond. Specifically, the 60s Sean Connery James Bond. I actually had a hat and everything that went with it, although everyone thought I was some sort of businessman. I've always been more into the cosplay aspects of Halloween than I have in the whole candy and things of that nature. I always really liked dressing up as a kid, and I still like dressing up as an adult, although, of course, the costumes have risen in price considerably. This month, we are going to be taking a look at a variety of things. We've already taken a look at the Mosin in 2018. My opinion on my original Mosin review has changed a bit. I used to think it was crap, but going back to it, it wasn't that bad. But I'm glad I finally did a definitive review on that rifle. We're also going to be taking a look at, I think this video is going to go up after this review goes up. I'm not sure when this video is going up, actually. Going to be taking a look at Necrovision. Sadly, the game is not altogether that amazing, but I will definitely cover that in the review. Then I'm going to be taking a look at Clive Barker's Undying. I was actually a fan who basically convinced me to review it when he mentioned it in the live stream that I do every week. I was like, you know what, I'll go ahead and review that one. That is a game I missed back in 2001 when it came out, but it definitely has stayed the test of time. And last but not least, the Halloween special, which I'm not going to spoil here, but live in fear of the Halloween special. The live streams for this month are going to be primarily horror game related. Last week's live stream was on PS2 horror games. This, well, since I don't know when this video is going up, the next live stream, we'll just say, is going to be on 2D horror games. Then, of course, I'm going to do a video on one of two things. It's either going to A, be first-person horror games, or B, multiplayer horror games. And then the last stream of the month is going to be on Halloween itself, and I'm not entirely sure what that's going to be at the moment. So live in fear. I've been enjoying these little live streams. A lot of people show up, and it's a lot of fun interacting with the fans and things of that nature. Now, starting this month, as you probably have already noticed, I've been doing some movie reviews with several other people. Been doing kind of crappy movies with Rage Killer, also known as Road Killer, and a new guy named Triple Shot Media, where we take a look at some of these crappy movies. As of this recording, I believe there's just one up right now, and that's Black Scorpion. That's a movie that I actually discovered quite by random on YouTube. And, it's basically just a 90s superhero action movie with boobs, which I certainly support quite a bit, even if Joe Quesada calls me a sexist. But then again, he's Marvel, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, there's going to be more movie reviews that continue on. Also, theoretically, I think probably today, as I record this video should be going up. Myself and Rainnick being one of the guys from the live stream that I do, we did a movie review of The Lost Battalion, a film from 2001. It was a TV movie, and I distinctly remember watching it back in 2001 on the public access channel. The thing is, for me, I've always known a great deal about history. I started studying history when I was 11 years old. So, for me, I already had known what had gone on in World War I by the time I watched the movie. But the movie really did show just how brutal World War I truly was. It's kind of scary how little knowledge people have of major world events. If you ask somebody, what happened at the Battle of Kursk, or who Kaiser Wilhelm II was, mostly you'll get is just blank stares. They don't have a clue. And that's why a lot of these individuals will run riot at the slightest provocation because they don't know anything. And in many instances, I don't think these crazy cretins even care about anything either. You know, you see these people rioting, saying that America is a fascist dictatorship. That is the funniest thing imaginable if you know anything about fascist dictatorships. And they're very adamant about this. Well, see, this. The very fact that you are alive, motherfucker, means we don't live in a fascist dictatorship. In fascist dictatorships, in communist dictatorships, you die if you say anything against the government. That's just a fact. But then again, as we all know, hashtag not real socialism, which is another thing that's really quite annoying to say the least. But we don't want to get into politics, but every time I talk about ignorance, I can't help but bring that up. Because ignorance really is the greatest tool of any dictatorial leader. And sadly, Donald Trump is not a dictatorial leader. Even if you want to believe he is, go right ahead. But you definitely are disgracing the memory of people who have actually had to live under dictatorial governments. But moving right along, ladies and gentlemen, going to try to get back into Mass Effect. I find that funny. We go from dictatorial governments to Mass Effect, but hey, that's how my mind works. Why Mass Effect after all these years? Well, because I started reading a fairly good fanfic. Fanfic, you know, fan fiction is often looked down upon by a wide variety of individuals, but the fact is, fan fiction really is not bad if it's written well. I mean, there's a lot of real books that I've read that are utter crap that pale in comparison to many fanfics that I've read. And this fanfic is a Halo meets Mass Effect fanfic, but one that I believe actually is able to combine both universes quite well. Basically, Mass Effect is the future of Halo. So Halo takes place, you know, when Halo takes place, and then 100 years later, Mass Effect happens. You know, after the Human Covenant War, they find a mass relay, and all that crap happens. Master Chief gets frozen, and this fanfic came out before Mass Effect 3 and Halo 4, so as far as the writer knew, Master Chief was just going to be there forever. And so Master Chief gets frozen at the end of Halo 3, they find him 131 years later, and actually not even basically, he does become Shep. He is the commander of the Normandy, and he goes after Saren. It is so well written, even if it is written amateurishly. The story is 100% readable. It follows Mass Effect as you would expect. It gets the characters right. It gets John 117 right. It is excellent. It gets a little amateurish in some of the word choice and the fact that he can't keep his tenses straight. What should be used in a past tense is used in a present tense, but if you can ignore that, it's pretty bloody good. And believe me, finding a book is not an easy thing, especially since I read so much. One of the book I'm reading, I read multiple books at the same time, actually, depending on where I am and what I'm doing at the time. The book I'm reading right now on my tablet is, of course, a book called The Destroyer. This is something I came across quite by random as well. This is a book where it's kind of funny. It's like a Planet that way. Like in that Mass Effect fanfic where Master Chief is awoken in the awoken in the Mass Effect. In The Destroyer, you've got this ancient warrior that basically is a Spartan too, but with like Wolverine's healing factor. He's awoken in the future, and he's fighting elves that are trying to kill everyone. It's pretty bloody good. It is very entertaining, and it's dark, but it's not grim derp. There's a significant difference. You know, reading that book, one of the things I got really sick of when it came to fantasy is like there were no likable characters. Everybody's a piece of shit in a lot of modern day fantasy books. In this one, everybody's pretty nice. All the characters are pretty cool. That's another thing I like about that Mass Effect fanfic. All the characters are really pretty cool. It's one of those problems with modern day literature where you're just supposed to hate everyone or everybody's a piece of fuck. And I really don't understand why they think that's such a good idea. But, whatever. That's modern day media for you. Speaking of modern day media, I finally sat down and watched a independent film on Netflix called The Bad Batch. I was actually kind of worried about it when I started watching it because it has Jim Carrey in it, who has gone completely insane, and it was also, I believe, it could have, I don't really know, I didn't bother doing any research, but one of the logos that flashed up was Vice, And for those who don't know, Vice is a massively fake news organization, if ever there was one. Like, every word that comes out of their mouth is a goddamn lie. So it's like, oh god, is this going to be some political crap? No political crap. Even with Jim Carrey. In fact, Jim Carrey doesn't speak at all, and it actually shows off his acting ability. I'm not being sarcastic when I say that. I mean, he's able to act without saying anything, and it's quite good. Jim Carrey is a great actor. My favorite role that he was in was Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. That was an amazing film. Now, you might not think it. It's like, oh god, it's a movie so artistic that literally, you know, they have to have a bloody filter on them because they're poisoning the atmosphere. But no, it's not as arty as you might think. And he did quite good in that, and he does quite good in this. The Bad Batch might as well just be considered artistic Mad Max. There's a lot of lingering shots. It's a very slow-paced film. I guess you could say it's sort of like Mad Max meets Stanley Kubrick more than anything else. Nothing in it is too aggravating. Nothing in it's too stupid. No political crap. It's definitely something I highly recommend checking out. Speaking of new shows coming out, since this video is going up at least in October, there's going to be a new Sabrina show. One of the shows that is my guilty pleasure was, of course, this was back when I was a kid, Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Somehow I was able to sit through that. I do not know how. The only thing I consume is my mind must have been like, magic? Fantasy? Okay, it's not some stupid situation comedy. So there's going to be a new Sabrina show that's supposed to be darker and edgier. We shall see. I'm actually looking forward to it. One thing about that, though, I finally at least spoiled myself for Archie Meets the Predator. And I'm glad I didn't read it, because this would have pissed me off. In that comic, the Predator is somehow able to kill Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Now, keep in mind, the Predator is tough, right? We get that. But facing a magic user, are you fucking kidding me? The Predator can't use magic. The Predator doesn't have any defense against magic. Let me put it this way. The ability for the Predator to take on Sabrina the Teenage Witch, okay, if he can take her on, then theoretically he should be able to take on, you know, Steve Strange, the Sorcerer Supreme, which he shouldn't be able to do either. The fact is, it's really stupid. There is no way the Predator can take on a magic user. Simple as that. Unless he has some sort of anti-magic field, and then you're just bullshitting. The Predator is not that strong, really. He's strong against an average human, but the reality is, against even your basic, low-level, super-powered being, he's pretty much nothing. You know, if he goes up against Spider-Man, Spider-Man's fucking winning. And I don't mean like, oh, he has spider sense. No, spider sense doesn't even matter. Spider-Man is going to be either as strong or stronger than the Predator. He's going to be as agile or more agile than the Predator. Remember, Spider-Man can stick to walls, and he can web swing around. That's actually kind of funny. There was a debate I had of Spidey versus Freddy Krueger. I'd say that Spidey would win. Why? Because Spider-Man... This is, the Spider-Man I'm going by is Spider-Man the Animated Series Spider-Man. That's the one I grew up with, and that's the only one I like. In that show, Spider-Man didn't just rely on his spider powers. He was also highly intelligent. And I have a feeling Spider-Man would find some sort of anti-magic gubbin that already existed in the Marvel Universe to help him. Or, at the very least, he'd show up at Steve Strange's house and be like, hey, Steve, can you help me out? It's like, sure. Boop. And I can tell you, Freddy is not as powerful as Dormammu or anyone like that. So, yeah, Freddy is scary to a normal human, but in the Marvel Universe, he'd be dead in a second. Even the DC Universe, because even Batty can just call up, you know, Zatanna or Dr. Fate, and they just fuck him up pretty fast. And the same cases with a lot of these other slasher villains as well. I mean, they would stand no chance. Like Jason and Mike, yeah, they're getting banished somewhere. So yeah. Oh, one final thing to point out is I will be doing a movie review of Venom when I finally get a chance to see it, which is going to be at some point this month, and I will be doing a movie review of the new Halloween as well. So in any event, I am Generallotz, wishing you good Spider-Man, TAS, and good Batman, TAS, whatever makes you happy.